Welcome to the doghouse. Hope you're having a great day. This is going to be about wrestling, AEW and WWE. Now, I used to watch wrestling quite a bit. Now I do the clips. I can't sit there and watch it for as long as I used to when I was younger. It was always interesting to me from the moves to the people and how it has evolved from what it was to now. And we all, when I was in my 20s and 30s, always had wrestlers I liked. One of the matches I watched, was on Turner Network. And it was the Mulkeys, probably one of the most famous non-winning teams that won. And when they won, the Mulkey brothers, when they won, I'm sitting there, why did they let them win? That was a pure out of nowhere win for them. I don't know how it was planned or who thought it up, but that was pulling something out of the hat that actually worked for that time. Now, that was in the 80s. Other things that used to work, and they don't do it a lot, which is good because when you use something too much, it takes a lot out. They used to use the box or sheet or whatever and pull it up, and the guy behind it would be a surprise. That's good for the audience. Probably stupid for some of the guys that had to do it, but it kept the audience there and your viewership up. Then we get to the PG era with DX and all them. Still not bad, but to me it started going downhill. There was less wrestling and more jumping around. And I'm one of these that's kind of like the old guy wrestling, how it used to be. Yes, I know that the winners are predetermined. Accidents happen. People get hurt. People hate other people like they do around the world. So that is not unusual for you to have injury. Now with the high flying stuff, it is more in that sense. The old way though was interesting too. Not so safe for the wrestlers at times because before it came out it was not real, and most people still thought it wasn't real. But tell the guys that get hurt it's not real. But anyway, they get knifed, they get guns pulled on them, and they'd be followed out of the arenas and want to beat them up because they beat their favorite team. So all this is interesting in itself from a sports entertainment, not as reality. But like I said, they do get hurt. That's real. Some people have lost their lives, and it hurts the whole family. People have totally injured themselves and couldn't work anymore. But what I'm getting at with the AEW and WWE is the fact, I'm going to start with AEW. They come on the scene hot and heavy, but they're just not doing things like they should anymore. They how am I going to put this? Because it's not to offend anybody, but they're doing the same old crap that Extreme Wrestling did. Jon Moxley has become a joke. Yeah, they got good ratings when he had this, whatever you want to call it, put in his back. But that's just sick. But stuff like that needs to stop because that's not wrestling. That's extreme and less people like it. Yeah, your pay-per-views, you're going to get good ratings on them, on either one of them. But the thing of it is, the writers and the owner just don't get it. They're making Moxley a joke, and I used to like him, still do, but they make him a joke on what they're doing. They've gone out of their way to be different than WWE, but then they're hurting themselves because of what they're doing. It's kind of like you have to try things. I understand that. But when they don't work and you keep trying them, that means they're not working. And it's kind of like a guy taking a whiz in the wind. I don't care how many times you try, you're going to get wet. And that's what these guys are doing. I mean, All Elite overall did not work and will not work. You will, for a time, get a good viewership, obviously. And they got way too many wrestlers for what they're doing. I don't know whether it's to keep them from going somewhere else or what the deal is, but it needs to change for the sake of the people buying their tickets. And I wasn't going to do this. I'm going to talk a little bit about WCW. Now, growing up at Ted Turner station with TBS, that's what I watched. I wasn't much into the WWF, and that's what it was back then. I'd watch it, but I preferred the Turner Network on what they were doing over that. You had people like Ric Flair, great athlete, and he was an athlete, even though, everything's choreographed to a point. I mean, mostly. Things happen that shouldn't happen, okay? And it really does. The only thing of it is, if you're in front of a live audience, you can't get a retake on what you're doing. But you had people back down, Ric Flair, Arn Anderson. You had Ole Anderson, which was a jerk then, and everybody proved it. Not because of what he was doing on screen. He was good in the ring, a good voice, but nobody liked him because he just was a grumpy person that thought he knew everything and just didn't work out. That don't say I don't like his style of wrestling, and he hated the newer style. I kind of like the old style better, so that I did agree with him on. You had people, and he's still out there. I used to like a guy called Sam Houston. He's been in jail and prison and that for a while. He's been out, but he had problems and put him in there. But I liked him because of his style he had. Some will remember him and some won't. One of Grizzly Smith's boys is who he was. I really was ended towards Grizzly Smith as far as knowing who he was and what he did. Because when I got in it, his name would come up here and there, but you really didn't. I think I seen him a few times, but on commentary or whatever, but never really watched him back then wrestle. I have on clips out there. Pretty good sized guy, and I don't like what he was accused of. I think that's just wrong. Had nothing to do with in ring, it had to do personally. The others on there I liked was Magnum TA. I think I really liked him. I remember his car crash. That pretty much did him in. You still see him out there doing interviews. He's pretty banged up to this day. He was a good one to watch too. The Koloffs, I love them. Not that they were really from Russia, but you know, they were good in the ring, both on the mic and what they did in the ring. Yeah, back there they used to have some color, but not the extreme stuff that a lot are trying to pull off now, which I do think it'll hurt in the long run. Even WWE realized that some of this stuff wasn't going to work anymore and they had to change, and it worked. Their style worked, changing it. But the problem with WCW and another guy I liked was Dustin Rhodes. But the thing back there, when they no longer existed and the WWE wound up buying them out, you hear so many rumors about that. This guy's fault, this guy's fault, this guy's fault. It was management's fault. You can blame other people for not sticking up and saying you got to do this or you got to do that. Well, still it's management's responsibility if something's going wrong to correct it. Well, when TBS was bought out, they really didn't like WCW at all. They just wanted it to go away. NWA is one of the titles that's been around forever, and it won't die. I'm just throwing that in, you know. And WCW, you know, that organization used NWA a lot back then. Then it kind of fiddled off to nothing. Then it's come back somewhat, and he's doing it like Corrigan is doing it like the old school, which people do like. A lot of your younger generation don't get what they were doing, and they go on with what's now. But when they see this older stuff, some of them like it. They really do. You know, and it was bad for WCW going through what they did. They sold it to WWE for nothing. And they released wrestlers, kept a few. And now, like I said a little earlier, I think they load their roster up because some of these guys they know they're not going to use. But they can't go nowhere, and that's part of what I think they did. And back to WCW, and I've heard this from several wrestlers at the time, management was really bad. There were people hurt, and they were getting paychecks. Even when they could come back, they just stayed away, and management was paying them paycheck. So yeah, there was a lot when WCW went down. AEW has tried to pick up on several things, and they have really tried. But they need somebody in the AEW that knows what they're doing. Tony Khan really don't. And like I said, there's other people out there that have been around the wrestling for a long time that says some of this stuff is a joke they are doing. They don't even have no rhyme or reason. That group that Moxley's got is a joke. It has nothing to do with anything but violence and no wrestling. And this is supposed to sell. You're taking a screwdriver in, not them, but others, and act like you're going to poke somebody's eyeball out with a screwdriver. This stuff is so old, and everybody knows you can't do that. You'd be in jail. But they're starting to get so they're repeating themselves. Chris Jericho, good performer. Not only in wrestling, but with his band Fozzy. These guys, or he went out there and he went over to AEW, and they had a really good thing going with him. Now they've even turned him in. One, he's getting older. And I'm going to get into that in a little bit, these older people. But he can't do what he used to do. And that's obvious. But he still can go out there and get the crowd going. Even his stuff has gotten stale and old. Predictable. AEW, a lot of their stuff is predictable. And no rhyme or reason to the point. They need to change it up and get better at what they're doing. And they'd be better off if they would. You know, you can only do so many things. You got to spread it out. That's like WWE. You know, almost every week somebody gets smashed into the announcer table. Come on, guys, you writers out there, pull your head out. People are tired of seeing that on a constant basis. Grab the guy, the chair shots, which has always been part, but they have forgotten how to spread things out and get inventive. They have to keep going back to all the old stuff that they do and repeat it every week. There is no imagination at all on AEW or WWE. Their imagination has gone by the wayside. The upside to the WWE is the women's division. They get a little bit more variance in what they do and how they do it. You may know who's going to win and you may know this or that's going to happen, but they change it up. Yes, I know Triple H has been out there trying to do more of the surprise thing, and that's good. That's what needs to happen. But you also have to change the concept. Everything's going to be the same all the time. How many more times can you throw somebody into the table announcer's booth and mess the announcer's booth up? How about changing it up? They haven't, and I hate this a lot, but it always worked when they didn't do it a lot. Any organization, the box deal or something, they need to do a couple of things like that. And they need to get more inventive. And the writers are getting bad. They're getting very stale and not doing things in the WWE. Yes, the WrestleMania will be super big when it comes up. It always is and always should be. But I'm talking about the just main shows out there and the pay-per-views out there. You got to do something different. You got to get more enthusiasm than it's out there right now. If you want ticket sales, you have to change. Now I'm going to get into a few wrestlers. One, let's talk about all the old guys, like The Rock. He and John Cena want to be relevant again so bad. And The Rock's good behind the scenes now, but they're old and they think they're 20 years old. This comes from a guy that's 65, by the way. Their time has passed them in the ring. Time has went by so fast for them, probably in their mind, and they still want to be relevant. Cena is on his last deal. Rock thinks he's still the tough guy in the ring. All this stuff has just become boring and sick with these older people. And I'm not saying they shouldn't go out and wrestle, but they're still trying to be the number one superstar. And their time has passed. You know, and I liked them. I mean, who wouldn't like some of these guys. John Cena, I used to like him. The Rock, I used to like him. But they both need to step back, let the younger people take over, and quit trying to hog the shows. And that's what they are doing. And when they hog the shows, the writing gets really bad. Even with WrestleMania, who Rock don't need to be there and out front like he was the other day, I guess. I seen it on a clip. He's irrelevant when it comes to in-ring performances. His suggestions would be great, and he probably is really doing that now, but he's not relevant anymore as far as action goes. He's just not. He thinks he is, and he's willing to go out there and act like he is. But you know, WrestleMania, even if he's not around, will bring in big bucks, great whole bunch of people, and The Rock will have nothing to do with the ticket sales or anything else because they're going by him anyway. Bringing him out does nothing, but shows that an old guy is trying to still be relevant in the business. And it's sad because of what he has accomplished to do something like this. To go out, talk, come on stage, get in the ring, talk his talk, that'd be one thing. But what he's doing now and the way they got it set up is a joke. Either the writers are doing it or he's telling the writers what he wants to do. Whichever it is, stinks to no end. Get out of the way. Let some of these younger guys get up and perform. WWE has so many wrestlers under contract. They're like AEW. They don't want people out there for competition, so they're paying them not to do anything. Of course, if you're one of them that's getting paid not to do anything, that might be okay. You know, they may have them as security guards or something for one of the segments or whatever. Instead of getting them out there. You know, there is a few out there that's older that the younger ones can learn from. The way they use R-Truth, that's good. He's older. But the way they use him, that's how you do an older person. You have him here and there. He's not on every week. And that's how you should always use your older people that's been there. One, it's easier on their bodies. Two is people do want to see the younger ones go out. You know, around here we used to, well, it'd be about 60 miles away from where I lived. When I wasn't married at the time, AWA used to come around. And the guy didn't have a driver's license, a friend of me, so he'd buy dinner, buy tickets, and buy my gas to drive him there. Which I got to see some pretty good people. Sherry Martel, Larry Sabisco, Nick Botwickle, the Rock and Roll Express, I should say the Midnight Rockers, and a few others, which was interesting, and I didn't mind it, but I probably would have never paid the ticket myself because I wouldn't say I wouldn't have paid the ticket myself, but I probably wouldn't have gone as many times when they showed up around here. AWA at the time would make its rounds in Idaho, Utah, Montana. So when they come every time, they went to Pocatello. My friend had to go there, and I'd do that for him. And like I said, it wasn't boring. And I've gone to some of the, back in the 80s and 90s, some of the lower level organizations, in which some of these guys are really, really good. I think one deal that very entertaining now is the midgets. Micro wrestling, I love that. I love getting on here and watching the YouTube channels with these guys on it. It's great. I think it's a good thing. It's good entertainment. It's not like they're doing now. Like I said with WWE, too many table shots, too many chair shots. They're not diversifying it out much. They have gotten very stale. AEW is the same way. They're trying to go PG with a lot of violence, and people, it's all about violence. It has no storyline hardly. I'm going out and shove a screwdriver in somebody's eye. I'm going out and throw this deal in the back of a wrestler. I'm not going to show. And one thing AEW is doing that is so stupid, putting the title in a briefcase and carrying it around, which we all know it's probably not in there, but that is so stupid. Whoever come up with that idea really needs a brain check. They're not getting any more audience by doing that. In their minds, they think they are, because they come up with it, so it's got to be right. At some point, you've got to get away from that. Maybe between AEW and WWE, there may be too many titles out there now. I mean, that's even getting to the point that it gets boring when they do that. I'll talk about a few more wrestlers before I go. The guy I liked in the 80s, I can't believe I haven't seen him for a while, but on the Independence was Mike Jackson. This guy's still getting the ring in his 70s. That's interesting. It works because he's not doing it on a major shows. It's spot shows by smaller companies, and you could do that way, but it wouldn't work in the AEW or WWE very well. Mike Jackson used to be the guy that get the enhancement talent, is what it's called back then in the 80s and 90s. And he would have the enhancement talent, and he'd drive them all around for a certain amount of money. So if they did a couple of towns a night, or whatever they might do, he drove them, and he got so much of their money. Smart businessman. Of course, if you're trying to get up and coming back then, you had to do things like that. You may wind up with very little money. And even today, some of the wrestlers think, oh, they all get this big money. No, certain ones get a cut of the money, the rest don't. And other wrestlers, I think they didn't get out of the ring in time when they should have. Hulk Hogan, whether you like him or not, he should have been gone before he was. He was another one that everything they were doing with him was getting stale. Now I can see them wanting him around because he was a big name to bring in talent. And using him was a good idea, but the way they used him was stupid. It goes back to people don't learn. They don't want to change, and they want to keep repeating and repeating, and it don't work. That's one sports entertainment thing, it just don't work. They think it does, but it don't. Like WWE, you know they're going to use the table. Sometime or another, they're going to use that table. How about backing it off there and getting more inventive? Now, they don't always use the steel steps, but that's good. I mean, that's kind of not used. It's used a lot, but it's kind of not used every week, which makes it good. Some of the wrestlers need more moves than just one or two. It gets very boring that way. But AEW and WWE just has to change their ideas up. Like I said, WrestleMania will be a big deal, and it should be, but the other shows, they just have to come up with more inventive ways to do things and get more of the younger people involved. Yes, you think maybe one or two can't do this or that, so you keep them around, but you don't think they'll amount to nothing. You don't know if they amount to nothing until you get them in front of an audience. Until that point, you're just guessing on whether they will or will not be good. And there needs to be more of a push on these people and less. WWE went in and cut their personnel, not their personnel, where they going back and on the road shows and that. And that same amount of people is a very good indication they don't want some of them out there doing anything. They would as soon pay them and not have them do nothing. Excuse me. But that's what they're doing. And let's talk a little bit about Vince McMahon, Vinnie Mac. The things he did to get out of wrestling. No, it wasn't on purpose to get out of wrestling. He was pushed out by the current deal, and I can see why. I really can. If he did what he said he was doing, he shouldn't even be around. But what will happen, you watch it, he will try to start a promotion at some point or another. I don't care how old he is. Even if he has to get his son involved, he will. And I don't think that would be a very good idea. He's another one because of his age. He shouldn't even try anything like that at all. He should step aside and let that company grow and grow. All he started to do was destroy his own company or his dad's company. When he's doing what he was doing, it started to hurt. He's kind of an arrogant person, and things he did a lot people question. But at least I'll give him credit. At least he would variance his, oh, how do you put it? Making sure his writers varied what was going on. It wasn't as complacent as it is now. But because of his age, he will not go out there if he started a company and vary it at all. It'd be a one-track system with him. He may get some older people, even some younger, to join a organization, but he would still have that one-track mind, and it just don't work. These are just things I've been thinking about, of wrestling. And like I said, I just watch clips and that on there. I don't watch it on TV anymore. But I do like some of the players involved here. Did a good job, and they still do a good job. And there's a lot of the younger ones out there who do a great job if they were given the opportunity. Some of these older people just have to give in a little bit and let them go out there and prove themselves. They have audience there, and you can react to what the audience is doing. But you have to have an open mind if you do that. Listen to the audience. How are they reacting? Are they achieving what you want? Are they achieving a good goal? Then maybe you use them again instead of here and there. But get more of the younger people involved. That'd be a plus. But don't be so complacent in what you're doing. Get more inventive on your story writing. It's getting very old and dull, and people eventually go by the wayside. Just like ECW, people got tired of all the violence and no wrestling. They give up on it. AEW is trying that, and they will be in the same boat if they don't change. Well, that's all I got to say for now. Thanks for listening.